The Rams got some good injury news. The Seahawks got some bad injury news. It's NFC Championship game week. The Rams' revenge tour continues up in Seattle. That's coming up next on Locked On Rams.
You are Locked On Rams, your daily Los Angeles Rams podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is up, Ramley, and welcome to another episode of Locked On Rams, your daily podcast covering your Los Angeles Rams, free and available wherever you get your podcasts. Locked On Rams, part of Locked On Podcast Network, now the #1 sports podcast network, your team every day. We're also available over on YouTube, so if you haven't yet, do me a huge favor, join the party, getting close to 22K, and if you want to support every episode, drop a like, drop a comment. I want all your takes and all things Rams football. Podcast listeners, write us a review. We'll read on the show. My name is Doug McCain. Friends call me DMAC. You can follow me on X and Instagram at DMAC_LA. I've covered LA sports for over a decade. 24/7 Sports, Bleacher Report, SI, Dodgers Nation, the LA Sports Report. Also NFL Radio for Westwood One. Today I'm flying solo. The People's Champ, Mr. Travis Rogers. He'll be back tomorrow, but on today's show, we've got a jam-packed show. The Rams got some good injury news. Seahawks got some bad injury news. We'll talk about that. Also, more takeaways from the Rams win over the Bears and what we learned from that game that should help the Rams on Sunday. And we are talking PFF grades, the good, the bad, the ugly, winners and losers, so much more. This is the NFC Championship game week, Ramley, so let's get right into it. Of course, as you can see, I'm not at SoFi Stadium because I'm moving this week and I'm at my new spot. And no, it's not an intense move like St. Louis to Los Angeles, more like the Coliseum to SoFi, but I wouldn't say as nice or anything like that. Let's not get crazy here, but I am in the process of moving, so that's why I got this makeshift setup here. But of course, it's Rams football 24/7, 365, and it's NFC Championship game week. So let's get right into it. Now, let's start with the injury news. The Rams got some good injury news. They're going to be in really great shape on Sunday. Sean McVay gave some updates, and he said that there's really not very many concerns coming out of that divisional round win against the Chicago Bears. He said that Byron Young, the Rams edge rusher, does have a sore knee. It's going to possibly limit his snap count. That's why he was limited to a season-low snap count against the Bears, but he's expected to be able to play against the Seahawks in the NFC Championship game, so hopefully he'll be further along in his little mini recovery. This was a small setback for BY. And then Emmanuel Forbes Jr., he left the game after playing just 4 snaps due to a shoulder injury. He did not return to action, and Sean McVay said that it should not limit him in the NFC Championship game. Both are expected to play. Other injury news, Josiah Stewart and Deshaun Johnson, they played more snaps, so that's kind of where they would go. Josiah Stewart has been really a quiet, emerging player for the Rams this year. Deshaun Johnson saved his best football toward the end of the season. So they're in a pretty good spot as far as depth goes, to where if Byron Young's snap count is limited once again, that they got dudes that can step up and provide some valuable snaps and just go to work. And then you've got Emmanuel Forbes, Roger McCreary, and Darius Williams. They played well. Kobe Durant, he was their best cornerback, and he has been for the last couple of weeks. So could this be a situation where, because of how McCreary and how Darius Williams looked with Emmanuel Forbes out, do you give them more of the snaps early in the game just to see, or do you put Emmanuel Forbes back and say, okay, since he's fully healthy, you want to get that opportunity? Because this is a major matchup. You got Jackson Smith and Jigba, the second best receiver in the NFL in 2025, of course, with our own Puka Nacua being first. But it is definitely going to be one of the big questions heading into this matchup, because that's what it's going to come down to, really, is can the weaknesses that became a strength for the Rams in that win over the Chicago Bears that we are still buzzing about, Ramley, where Kobe Durant had 2 big interceptions, where Cam Curl saved the season laying out for an interception. Can you continue that momentum? So we'll get into some more takeaways, and we'll talk about kind of what we really learned from that game that can be transferred to the Bears game, because every game really takes on a life of itself. Matthew Stafford, he was clutch once again down the stretch. I don't know if you guys saw the clip of Matty Stafford and going cross-body on the right hash for an out route to Devontae Adams, and the throw he made there, just an impossible angle that really no quarterbacks are going to attempt, but also him flipping off that QB jacket and the equipment manager just catching on the fly. If you haven't seen that clip, go look for it. Definitely one of the clips of the week, no doubt about it. But when you look at where this Rams team is, and you keep going into the takeaways from the win, you got to look at that defense. I rewatched the game multiple times at this point, and look, you're always going to start with offense when you have Sean McVay and Matthew Stafford and Devontae Adams and Puka Nacua and Kyron Williams and all of these stars on offense. You don't have those big name brand stars on the Rams defense. Yes, Jared Verse is going to ultimately be one of those guys, but the defense really stood out. And it wasn't just going bananas on 4th down and finding a way to make those stops on 4th down, where they had 3 4th down stops, 2 in the red zone, 2 right outside of the red zone, that ultimately won them the game, because 1, Ben Johnson wasn't taking the points in those situations, and 2, you were stopping momentum drives from the Bears. It was beyond that. In the third quarter, the Rams gave up just 19 total yards to the Bears in a quarter where the Rams offense really just struggled to get the points up, to score touchdowns, to build some separation. It was the defense that was keeping that Bears offense at bay. And after that opening drive touchdown and going away with that field goal drive at the end of the half, the offense, they struggled. I mean, they had 42 yards of total offense from that span up until heading into the fourth quarter. The offense, their success rate sat at 35.5%. Here's a name that Rams fans don't want to hear. It's Brett Rippon, the worst quarterback we've seen this organization in quite some time. That success rate was the lowest that we've seen since Brett Rippon was in a game, not ripping anything for the Rams. So it was the defense. They had very minimal margin for error, and they stepped up. So look, enjoy the last couple of games for Chris Shula. I was on a Pittsburgh radio station. I was pushing for him to be their head coach. He not only stopped anything in that stretch and bottle up the run game when they needed to and stop the explosive plays, but it was the 3 turnovers, 3 stops on 4th downs, and he just absolutely made life miserable at times for Caleb Williams and Ben Johnson. So just think about that. It was Chris Shula that was the guy that was behind the Sean McVay versus Ben Johnson, the Matt LaFleur, and kind of the beef between them. Don't forget Chris Shula. That's Sean McVay's boy, man. They grew up in this football world together. So, yeah, on top of that, the Bears went 3 for 6 on 4th down. A couple of times you saw 3rd and 4th and short in those situations. And the Rams, they are not a team that gets a lot of stuffs and negative plays in the run game. They were doing that. So I said it after the game. I said on yesterday's show, all the talk around the NFL is, why didn't Ben Johnson go for 2? Why didn't Ben Johnson go for 2? And I've heard so many people say, oh, it's just because, look, you're at home. You're going to take it to overtime. You got the momentum. You want to give your chance to win. And I know why the Rams didn't have to face that situation. I know why the Bears didn't go for 2. It was because Ben Johnson was terrified of going up against this Rams defense. And he had already used some of those big plays, some of those wrinkles earlier in the game, and he's kind of burned his fourth down plays, which sometimes can be your 2-point conversion play. So the defense, just an absolute incredible performance from them when they need it the most on a cold night where the offense and Matthew Stafford were off for long stretches. It was the defense that stepped up in a game where they had to have it. 85 Bears defense. How about the 2026 Rams defense? Oh, and one more thing before we go to break here. I heard so many players after the game. Kobe Durant mentioned it pretty emphatically. What did I say this entire week? I said that this Rams team was going to take it very personal that national pundits and all these so-called experts around the NFL world were parroting the same take about, oh, the cold is going to hurt the Rams. The Rams, LA, West Coast team playing in a little canopy roof. It's not a complete dome. Air gets in there. And people were saying the Rams can't win in the cold. Well, it's going to be a cold winter for the Bears because their season's over and the Rams are the team that advanced. And I heard so many players talk about how they had some extra motivation because really what you're doing in that situation is you're questioning a team's toughness. You're basically throwing on the soft label without throwing on the soft label. And I love the fact that this team took that to heart and they had that extra motivation, and it clearly worked out because what does Sean McVay always say? Be at your best when your best is needed. And the Rams got the best performance of the year from their defense when it was absolutely needed. You got the A game from the Rams defense. If they even brought their B+ game, I think they'd probably lose that football game. But guess what? The defense showed up, they showed out, and they're now headed to the NFC Championship game. So coming up next, PFF grades from the Rams win over the Bears. More takeaways. Can't believe it. One win away from the Super Bowl. That's coming up next on Locked On Rams. This episode of Locked On Rams brought to you by our friends over at Indeed. If you've ever hired someone who's looked good on paper but wasn't the right fit, you know how important that is. When you want candidates who truly match what you're looking for, trust Indeed sponsored jobs. Hiring, Indeed is all you need. Stop struggling to get your job post seen on other sites. Indeed sponsored jobs put your post at the top of the page and helps you reach the right candidates faster. If I needed to hire someone for this show, I'd go straight to Indeed and be very specific about what I need. Real experience, not just a resume buzzword. Instead of struggling to get your job post seen, Indeed sponsored jobs helps your listing stand out and reach quality candidates faster. Sponsored jobs boost your post to people who are the best match for your role, and that makes a real difference. According to Indeed data, sponsored job posts directly on Indeed are 90% more likely to report a hire than non-sponsored jobs. Spend your time interviewing candidates who will check your boxes with less stress, less time, and more results. Using Indeed sponsored jobs. Listeners of the show get $75 in sponsored job credit to help give your job the premium placement it deserves at Indeed.com/LockedOnNFL. Just go to Indeed.com/LockedOnNFL right now and support the show by saying you heard about Indeed on this podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Hiring, do it the right way with Indeed. What if sports were traded like markets? Now you can put your sports IQ to work in real time with Robinhood Prediction Markets. It's not you against the house, it's you participating in a live market. You can buy or sell your positions live all game long. Use your sports knowledge in the moments that matter. Robinhood Prediction Markets changes the game. It's people moving the action, so when momentum shifts, you can move with it. I always knew the game, but never had a dynamic way to apply that knowledge. Now I can actually take part live in a market powered by people. You're no longer just a spectator, play-by-play. You decide. Trade every play with Robinhood, now available across the U.S. Download the Robinhood app now to begin. Futures and cleared swaps trading involves significant risk and is not appropriate for everyone. Event contracts are offered by Robinhood Derivatives LLC, a registered futures commission merchant and swap firm. And we are off and running here on Locked On Rams. Thank you for making Locked On Rams your first listen every single weekday. Free and available wherever you get your podcast. Locked On Rams, part of Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day. Locked On Rams, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Now, the #1 sports podcast network. Also, if you haven't yet, are you going to do me the biggest favor in the world? Are you going to join the Everydayer Club? All you got to do is go to lockedonrams.supercast.com and you will officially join that Everydayer Club. It's $5 a month. If you want to go yearly, basically it's $4.17 a month. And it's great. I've seen the Discord, Rams fans talking ball in there. You get access to an ad-free audio feed for Locked On Rams. You get that invite, like I said members only Locked On Rams group chat. I'm going to be in there tonight, so look for me on that. You get exclusive access to national bonus shows. You get members only Locked On merch, a merch store that's just for you guys. So do me a huge favor, join the Area Listeners Club and be a part of the show, right? This is your show. Travis and I are just hosting it, okay? So do us a huge favor and join the Everyday Listeners Club, because I know it's Rams football all day, every day, 24/7, 365. Okay, I want to talk more about the defense and shine a light on the defensive players not named Kobe Durant. It's so funny, the game that Kobe Durant had, you would think that he'd be getting more love, but everyone sees him on that highlight now because he's the guy that let Cole Kmet get behind him. There was definitely some contact there. He did push him away a little bit. I like not making that call and throwing a flag in that situation. You got to let guys go out there and play physical football sometimes. So I have no issue with an on-call there. The play was made with Caleb Williams extending the play, and it's hard to cover NFL players for more than a handful of seconds, and that's what they were forced to do, and he had the size advantage, but still, they more than made up for it in overtime. And I want to start with Cam Curl. Cam Curl is one of those guys that I don't think should ever have to buy a drink in Los Angeles ever again, because without Cam Curl's interception, if you had a 10-yard completion from Caleb Williams, a 15-yard completion from Caleb Williams, they attempt a kick that could have ended their season. So Cam Curl stepped up in a big way. He saved this Rams season as far as I'm concerned, or him and Harrison Mevis, the rest of this game, right? It was a team effort. But how about the night that he had? Because it wasn't just that play. He led the Rams with 13 tackles. He allowed just 2 receptions for 11 yards on 4 targets. The interception of his career. And here's the thing, too. It's not like it was a gimme interception, like on a tip ball and just right into his arms or anything like that. The dude laid out for it. How many times have we seen plays like that where it goes through your arms, goes through your hands, and kind of rolls on the dirt, and then all of a sudden you're saying to yourself, wow, an almost interception. If he doesn't pick that off, the next play they pick up a nice chunk and they probably go home. So Cam Curl, you can't say enough about the game that he had. And that's kind of one of the things leading to the Seahawks game that you feel a lot of confidence about. It's not just that the defense is playing well, it's that they're opportunistic and they're playing like ball hawks. They have a nose for the football. And if there's one quarterback in the NFL that's variance is super off the charts, it's Sam Darnold. It's Hey Darnold. And he's a guy that he completely changes if you can cause a turnover against him. So this Rams team entered that game really on a turnover hot streak with their secondary and their cornerbacks having that nose for the football. So I think this turnover hot streak could not have come at a better time going up against an opponent where that's a part of the recipe for beating them is you want to see Halloween in January, right? You want Sam Darnold to start seeing ghosts, and that's what they have the potential to do there. And then I want to talk about Quentin Lake, because against the Carolina Panthers, looked rusty, wasn't his best game. They were going after him. He had to have some white flag level pass interferences, but he was fantastic. That was the Quentin Lake that signed that extension, that made the Rams feel like they had to have him for the long haul. That was the guy who showed up on Sunday night against the Chicago Bears. He allowed 2 catches on 11 yards. And if you rewatch the game, he's everywhere on the defensive side of the football. He brings that versatility in the slot, all over the field. You just see him making plays. And the defining Quentin Lake play for me, and yes, as a UCLA Bruin, I'm extra proud of my guy Quentin Lake, because we haven't had very much to feel excited about as UCLA football fans the last couple of decades. So having Quentin Lake show out for my Rams, that puts a smile on my face, because I look at that play, 3rd down at the goal line, DeAndre Swift, he goes over Darius Williams. Williams cuts underneath him, and it was Quentin Lake who popped him on the top to force that 4th down. Just laying the wood on DeAndre Swift. And on the very next play, it was Omar Speights who gets the pass breakup to get the turnover on downs. And if Quentin Lake does not make that play and they get in the end zone there, it's a tie game with 3:50 to play, and anything can happen in that situation. So that was a gritty play from Quentin Lake. If you look at the defensive PFF grades, the top 5 grades on defense, Cameron Curl, 91.7. We talked about him. They used him as a blitzer. He had 1 pressure, and he was around the line of scrimmage. I mean, he was just fantastic. He really was great. No missed tackles for Cameron Curl in that one. Just a fantastic game from him. And I think the thing that stands out is the fact that he can be that aggressive, but also just being that good in coverage as well. And the PFF grades, they really stand out. Cameron Kinchins had a big game, a 90.4 game as far as 6 tackles, did not have any missed tackles. He had an 87.9 grade in coverage. He gave 2 catches on 4 targets for 10 yards, had a pass breakup. Omar Speights, really good game, a 90.1 PFF grade. Pretty much the other unsung hero was how good he was in coverage. He had a couple pass breakups. Caleb Williams had that first touchdown to DJ Moore. Speights was very close to at least breaking up or possibly intercepting him. So that would have been maybe even a pick 6, who knows? But yeah, he ended up getting banged with Nate Landman there. Deshaun Johnson had a really good game, a 77.9 PFF grade. You had Jared Verse at 61, Byron Young. The snap count was at 61, and Byron Young at 35. So to getting guys like Deshaun Johnson in the game, that's massive, especially if guys are dealing with injuries, because that's where you really highlight your ability to draft and develop and have guys ready. Tyler Davis had a 77.2 PFF grade. He was right behind Josiah Stewart, so he was there as well. PFF grades, take them with a grain of salt, right? I mean, use them to fit your narrative. But no, in all honesty, Jared Verse had a 33.2 PFF grade. He had 6 missed tackles. So, look, as much as I love Jared Verse, and I've seen every single Jared Verse snap as a Ram, watched a lot of his tape from Florida State, I'm very well versed on Jared Verse, and the tackling just needs to be better. I mean, it really does. He needs to find a way to not overly commit to more skilled players. It's a difficult thing to do, but still, he had a 23.2 tackling grade, and the run defense wasn't good either at 44.4. So not a great game for Jared Verse. Now, flipping over to the offensive side, what do we say about Kevin Dotson, who's going to have a big impact on this team? His first game back from the injury. He allowed just 1 pressure in pass pro. He was the highest graded player in run blocking too at 93.5. And he's worth his weight in gold. Like, he really is the heart and soul of this offensive line. To come back off an ankle injury and have an immediate impact, and now get the get back against the Seahawks, we know what happened, and he's got an opportunity to get that get back. Tyler Higbee, how about him? A 79.2 PFF grade. Played just 8 snaps though, but He did have a 27-yard catch. That's why it's who's qualifying. Alec Jackson had the second best pass pro grade at 77.5 behind Steve Avila. And then you had Kyron Williams, a 70.5 grade. So I think Williams, there were some good moments there where he was in pass pro, delivering some pretty good blocks, but overall 48 pass blocking grade compared to Blake Corum's 65.8. So if you're wondering why Blake Corum was the guy that was in there on that final offensive possession overtime, well, that explains that. It was Blake Corum was doing a better job blocking than Kyron Williams in that one. And Puka Nacua, 69.6 PFF grade. It wasn't a Puka superstar game. He had 5 catches on 10 targets for 56 yards. So, look, he's going to explode. I mean, he had his best game against the Seahawks, and I'm very, very excited to see what he brings in that one. I'm expecting a legacy game from Puka Nacua. Matthew Stafford had the lowest grade on offense, a 42.2 PFF grade. He had 2 fumbles, and Stafford also didn't, 3 big-time throws, but 3 turnover-worthy throws too. So he was lucky to finish without a turnover. He really, really was. And yeah, an adjusted completion rate, 52.6%. That was big. But look, no drops by the Rams. They had 0 drop balls. The penalties were clean for the most part. And that's why you win on the margins with this Rams team. So coming up next, we're going to talk about how the Rams need to be better and what injury the Seahawks have that could have an impact on this one. That's coming up next on Locked On Rams. Kicking off the year, feeling good is the goal, right? And honestly, hydration is the easiest win. When I stay on top of it, my energy, focus, and mood all level up. But let's be real, plain water doesn't always cut it, especially when you're grinding through long days, hitting the gym, or just trying to stay consistent with your health goals. That's where Drip Drop comes in. Doctor-developed, proven fast hydration that helps your body and mind work better, think clear, focus, better energy, elevated mood, even that fresh skin glow. And I love Drip Drop. It has changed my life. I've been using Drip Drop as part of my daily routine, and honestly, it's a game changer, not just for workouts, but every single day. I love that it uses a precise ratio of electrolytes and glucose for rapid absorption, delivering 3 times the electrolytes and half the sugar of leading sports drinks. And it tastes amazing too. I'm obsessed with this. It's just the flavors are great. All 16 original flavors and 8-ounce zero sugar options to choose from. Drip Drop's science-based backed formula is trusted by firefighters, medical professionals, and over 90% of the top college and pro teams because it rehydrates you faster and more effectively than water alone. They have flexible subscription options so you never have to be stuck with it, whether you're hitting the gym, juggling work, or staying consistent with your goals. And right now, Drip Drop is offering podcast listeners 20% off your first order. Go to dripdrop.com and use promo code LOCKEDONNFL. That's dripdrop.com. Promo code LOCKEDONNFL for 20% off. Stock up now at dripdrop.com and use promo code LOCKEDONNFL. FanDuel is officially in playoff mode. Every game day during the NFL playoffs, FanDuel is giving customers even more ways to get in on the action. Because right now, every NFL playoff game day, FanDuel users get a profit boost pack waiting for them inside the app. Each game day, you'll see a pack loaded with multiple profit boosts you can apply to the bet you like most. Open your profit boost pack first thing on game day and see what boosts you want to apply. The boosts let you lean into your game day actions and instincts, whether you're backing momentum, defense, quarterback, player, coaching. The boosts give you more juice on the bets you already like instead of forcing you to bet something new. Every play feels bigger, and the boosts make your bets feel that way too. You make your picks, then apply your profit boost to go after even bigger payouts while the playoffs get rolling. So visit FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL, and grab your profit boost pack every NFL playoff game day. And welcome back to Locked On Rams. Thank you for making Locked On Rams your first listen every single weekday. Free and available wherever you get your podcast. Locked On Rams, part of Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Okay, so Mike McDonald, Seahawks head coach, he confirmed that Zach Charbonnet, running back for the Seahawks, is going to be out for the remainder of the season. He called it, quote, significant knee injury. It's believed to be an ACL. They haven't confirmed that yet. He did say, quote, he pretty sure it is an ACL, but the bottom line is that right now you have Kenneth Walker III. He's the only running back on the 53-man roster for the Seahawks. You have Velus Jones Jr. and old friend Cam Akers on the practice squad. So that's big. Zach Charbonnet is someone that's in their rotation. Kenneth Walker III is their best running back, but they're missing out on a guy that would have played pretty significantly for them potentially. So that's definitely a factor in this one. Now, the Rams have to be better. We understand that. There's no doubt about that. You know that if the Rams played on Sunday the way they played against the Bears, a pretty good chance they're going home. They need to improve. The Seahawks just beat the 49ers 41-6. I just love the fact that they scored enough points against the Seahawks in the first. I just love the fact that the Seahawks scored enough points in the first 13 seconds to beat the 49ers with that kick return for a touchdown from Rashid Shaheed. The Niners, it's bang bang Cancun gang. But if the Rams are going to go up to Seattle and get a road NFC Championship game win, they're going to have to be at their best. They're going to have to play their best football that we've seen in the last 5, 6, 7 weeks. I mean, all three phases: offense, defense, and special teams. No mistakes. You can't have the penalties like we saw against Carolina. You can't have the offense stumble and not move the football and have Sean McVay not commit to the run and make careless mistakes when it comes to time management. Because let's not forget, Sean McVay has to have his best game as well. They have to play 4 quarters of really, really good sound football because the warning signs have been there. The offense hasn't been sharp. The penalties, the defense, of course, they carried. But even the defense, I think you could see a better game from their stars like Jared Verse. So that's just kind of a little opening remark on the Seahawks. But I mean, let's make the story about the Rams, because one thing that really annoys me, all this coverage about the Bears and Ben Johnson and Caleb Williams in that play, you don't think the Bears have won that game. You would have thought that the Bears beat the Rams by the coverage. Dude had a 3-interception game with a 59 passer rating, and they're trying to say he's the next great quarterback in the NFL. Well, the Rams escaped. They survived. And maybe still people aren't talking about them enough because they're really the model of consistency with this group and really for the most part with this franchise. But you go and beat the Seahawks and you're going to win the Super Bowl. Sunday is the Super Bowl. It really is. Those are the 2 best teams in the NFL. And I'm confident that if the Rams find a way to get a win on the road, doesn't matter who comes out of the AFC, the Rams are going to win their 3rd Super Bowl. My name is Doug McCain. You can follow me on X and Instagram at DMAC_LA. Join the Every Listeners Club. Join me on Twitter and X and Instagram. I'm posting Rams content nonstop for you guys. And we're going to get some interviews this week too, hopefully, so be on the lookout for that. You can find me at DMAC_LA. Subscribe, hit the like button, hit the notification bell. And until next time, whose house? It's Locked On Rams house.